What's up, Valorant fans? Welcome back. It's IHOLDSHIFT with another episode of the Valorant Report, breaking down day 2 of the group stage from the PAX Arena. Luckily, this time we had a chance to watch a handful of perspectives, as there were some observers who were streaming some clean feeds, and a couple of casters got on to bring us some commentary for a lot of the group matches throughout the day, myself included. A few came from the live stream, were able to watch some of the games that we casted. Thanks for stopping in here, and of course, I hope you enjoyed the show as always. But let's dig in and talk groups. We'll start with Group A. Pivotal day. Going into it, we knew that 100 Thieves would need to beat TSM to have a more realistic chance at playoffs. But after losing to Team Solo Mid, they also dropped a 3-map series to close the night off against BBG, and that would mean that TSM will finish 1-3 in the 4th place position in Group A. I don't think that many of us would have anticipated this at the beginning of the event. Big questions are absolutely on the horizon now about 100 Thieves, especially when it comes to what happens next after a handful of poor performances, not seeing the playoff bracket a couple of weeks in a row. On the other hand, Solomon Def, who impressed with FaZe at the T1 Ignition Series, continued to rock this group under the banner of Homeless. TSM would finish plus 40 at 4-0. Homeless will finish second, plus 20 in the round differential at 3-1. An incredible showcase from Built by Gamers, but unfortunately only the top 2 make it into the playoffs. In Group B, really no issue for T1 throughout this entire group, as they got past Envy in a relatively close 13-10, 13-11 series, on their way to what would be a plus 62 map differential and a 4-0 in the group in whole. The second place spot would be determined off of Envy versus Way Too French to close out the evening, in which Envy would have to make a dramatic comeback on the first map to take it 13-11, but from there, all considerations were let loose as they would smoke Way Too French 13-2 on the second. So your top 2 getting out will be T1 and Team Envy, Way Too French finishing 3rd, Echo 8 and 4th. In Group C, the only way this group was going to get interesting is if Immortals would lose to Gen G and also to Prospects. But neither would happen, as Gen G just had to close out versus Mango. We got the Power 2 out of my pool of death. Didn't really turn out that way. But Prospects and Mix-Up, I think, put up really good fights versus the top 2. Through and through, they definitely showcased a lot of promise, as honestly, in my mind, these are the next 2 teams that need to be picked up by a major organization that's looking to get involved. Or on the other front, a team like 100 Thieves might want to look at some of these players as, oh my goodness, things are not looking great for 100T at the moment. To round out the group stage, Group D, C9 and Sentinels played for first place in the pool, where Sentinels would take a 13-7 and 13-9 win in a 2-0 fashion. Renegades and Complexity, who were our up-and-comers, quote-unquote, as newly signed org teams, Renegades were not actually able to take down Complexity in a 3-map series, as they would actually find a way to get very close to surprising the Sentinel squad to finish off the day. So who knows? Maybe I overslept a touch on both these Complexity and Renegades rosters, as they have not really made a lot of waves kind of on the up and up through a lot of open invitationals, or open series rather, I should say. And really in this one, with Complexity starting off with an 0-2 first day, the fact that they were able to beat Renegades and take their 4th matchup, finishing 2-2 in the pool, was exciting. And Renegades, even though they'll finish 1-3, I thought had a very good time. So this is what the playoffs are going to look like for you guys, as the top 2, just as a reminder, will make it in. It will be a best of 3 and a single elimination tournament. I really wish that this would have been top 3 make it, and then there was a double elimination bracket where the 3rd place team out of each group would play up against each other in the losers bracket first. That would have been a really cool format, but nevertheless, we are still early in the Valorant esports scene. So let's take a look at TSM versus Envy, first match up. These guys have played once before at the T1 Ignition Series, where it was a 2-1 in maps in favor of TSM. But that said, all 3 maps were absolutely convincing for one side or the other. And honestly, with how weakened TSM has looked so far and in the recent history, I would not be surprised to see an upset here from the more recently signed Envy squad, as they actually share a lot of mutual interest in map preference. Expect to see a lot of Haven and Split tomorrow at least, in which Drone has actually been massive for TSM so far this weekend. I'm also pretty excited to see Mummy versus Wardell in that matchup of operators. That's going to be a pretty fun one. Definitely make sure you tune in for it. Sentinels versus Gen G is our second matchup. This is actually the 5th time that these guys have played in a tournament setting since the T1 Ignition series. The head-to-head currently, though, is 3-1 in favor of the Sentinels. Although, that said, Gen G did take the last meeting in a tight 3-game series where we saw an overtime on Bind. Both teams are showing top 4 potential as squads right now, so this is a little bit of an earlier matchup than you may have wanted, and surely it'll make for an absolutely entertaining series as Sinatra has been throwing around some impressive numbers all weekend long. He's absolutely my X factor to watch, as I feel like people are still a little bit sleeping on Sinatra and his potential to pop off at any given moment in time. In T1 versus the Homeless one, this is going to be an interesting matchup because T1, they're boasting 2 players in the top 6 statistically right now based on KD, one of which includes Food, who has been feasting, I've selectively used that word, this weekend, so far with a 2.06 KD. He's absolutely going to need to be shut down from Homeless if they want to stand a chance in this one. And honestly, I'm just kind of excited to see if Homeless is worth the full hype. As we know, Def and Psalm have been playing extremely well. They were formerly on that FaZe Clan roster at the T1 Ignition series, looking to kind of find themselves an organization or a new home to play at. And then our final matchup is Immortal versus Cloud9. Somehow, someway, these guys just avoid seeing each other in tournament settings previously. And this is actually going to mark their first time playing up against each other. C9 has been the same solid Cloud9 that we've seen in the past few events, but I will say Immortals is looking absolutely stellar and very hot after a convincing 2-0 earlier versus Gen G. I'm looking to see just again if Immortals could keep popping off as they've had. JC Stanny has played well. Really, everyone has played very well. And outside of a bad split attack that they had versus Prospects, they've dominated their group through and through. Assuna's been the major issue, I think, for tomorrow, though, so we'll see if he's able to find a way to keep popping off. That's going to be your recap for you guys, just quick fashion for you. I really do appreciate all the love on Reddit, by the way, as I posted this one up yesterday. Hopefully, some of you guys subscribed and came back for this one today, and I promise, tomorrow, I will be adding some gameplay footage into the mix to give you guys something to kind of break up just me talking. I know you guys have been looking forward to that. It's just too many streams to go through and try to find clips from, so I'll make sure I get some tomorrow and have that as we break down the 4 matches in the quarterfinals as we set up our semis going into Saturday. So make sure you come on back, subscribe on your way out, like the video if you enjoyed it, and hopefully we'll catch you guys here next time. But until then, we hope that you guys keep holding it down. Later. Bye-bye.